What is going on, YouTube? Resurrection00 here with our first ever YouTube video on the channel. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. You guys know me as a longtime Twitch streamer over on Twitch under the same handle, Resurrection00. I've been wanting to do something on YouTube for a very long time, and I just didn't really know the right motivation or the right inspiration to be able to do like some type of string of videos. I finally found out what I want to do, and I think this is a perfect time to bring this into YouTube and start my YouTube journey more so. Not really steering away from MLB The Show because I want to do MLB The Show YouTube sometimes here and there as well, but this is something that I wanted to do. I've been watching a lot of guys on YouTube do 2K videos or videos surrounding the NBA where they kind of just sit there and they talk about basketball for like kind of like a talk show type thing. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that for baseball. These guys are inspirations to me. I want to do this for baseball. And I titled it Uncut. You guys can see at the top of the screen. I wanted it to be titled Uncut because this is a pure reaction, a pure conversation with you guys, kind of face to face. Something that you guys might not always see with a lot of YouTubers. A lot of YouTubers will have cuts, they'll have edits, they'll have this, they'll have that. Me personally, I kind of wanted to have like a one-on-one conversation, make it seem like I'm talking to you guys more so than like an edit or like a clip of something, you know what I'm saying? So, but anyways, to get underway, enough of the rambling and everything. Today's first video, first talk show episode, Uncut episode number 1. I'm going to be going over the American League standings predictions for the 2024 season. I'm super excited for the season to get underway. I have a lot to talk about. You guys know me over on Twitch that I've been kind of steering away from talking about the season and the standings and like what teams I think are going to be really good because I wanted to do this. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So anyways, we're going to get right underway. The American League East is going to be an absolute dogfight this year. It's been a dogfight for like seems like 4 years at this point. Absolute dogfight. Every single team is contending to an extent. Maybe not the Red Sox, who I have in the 5th spot of the American League East standings. I have the Red Sox at about 76 to 78 wins this year. I really don't see where they're gonna get any better this year. They didn't really do too much. They're a bottom feeder in the offseason. Bottom feeder going into this season, sorry. They traded away Alex Verdugo to a division rival in the Yankees. They traded away John Schreiber, who was one of their best bullpen arms this year. They traded away Chris Sale. So they did get a little bit of that money away by having Chris Sale tied into that contract. That was a brutal contract that I don't think any team would have wanted. They did end up going out and signing Liam Hendriks to kind of like I think it was like a 1-year, $10 million deal. So it wasn't anything crazy, but or one or 2-year, $10 million deal. It wasn't anything crazy. They got Liam Hendriks. I think they signed Lucas Giolito this offseason as well. So I'm kind of excited for the Red Sox young core more than anything. I think they extended Rafael Devers as well. If they didn't, they should. I forget if they did or not. They got Tristan Cassis. They got Brian Bello. They got a lot of young guys there, man. A lot of young talent. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they can do. I think it's gonna be more of like a retooling type year for them. They've showed in the past that they haven't really wanted to go out and spend too much money in the offseason. They were kind of rumored to sign a few different pitchers this year. I thought they were going to go out and trade for Corbin Burns. I thought it was going to be the Red Sox. That's what it seemed like. It was kind of steering towards. They were going to go out and get Corbin Burns, but it ended up being a division rival in Baltimore. So yeah, that's kind of where I have the Red Sox in 5th place in the American League East at around 76 to 78 wins. So for a 5th place team in any division, 76 to 78 wins is damn good in my opinion. In 4th place in the AL East, I have the Tampa Bay Rays. I have them sitting around 80 to 84 wins. They won 99 games last year. I really just don't know. That's a big dip. That's like 15 games dip. If they're gonna hit about 84 wins next year, that's a big dip. I just don't know, man. They did a lot in the offseason that I really don't like. They traded away Tyler Glasnow. They traded away Manuel Margot. They have a lot of injuries coming into this offseason too. Like coming into this season, they have Shane McClanahan still on the IL. Drew Rasmussen, I believe, is on the IL still. they still have a good little core. Like, their offense is good. Like, their offense, some of their guys kind of showed out this year. Like, Yandy Diaz had a great year, batting title type guy. Um, Randy Arozarena kind of improved this year. Isaac Paredes had a breakout season. They've Josh Lowe had a breakout season. They've had a lot of guys that have improved, especially last year, to help them. They did start off the year incredibly good. Like, I'm talking record-breaking good. Like, what did they win? Like 30 of their first 35 games or something like that. Like, it was crazy start to the season. Kind of drizzled away. They ended up losing the division to the Orioles eventually too. So, I 80 to 84 wins, that might be a little bit low for a lot of people. Like, that's a big dip when they really didn't do that much. And I mean, it's Tampa Bay, year in and year out. They somehow continue to find ways to win games, continue to find ways to make the playoffs, continue to find ways to fight against these good teams. But me personally, I have them in the 4th spot in the AL East at around 80 to 84 wins. I don't think that's too bad. 3rd place in the AL East. This might be a little bit biased. Don't hate me for it. But I do have the Blue Jays at number 3 in the AL East. I have them around 87 to 89 wins. We won 89 games last year, I believe. Yes, 89 games last year. We didn't do very much in the offseason. We personally probably got worse. Like, honestly, in my opinion, we probably got worse this year. I really don't know where we go this offseason. This season. We went out and we got Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to probably replace Matt Chapman. We're trying to rework, as currently filming this video. We're trying to work a contract with Matt Chapman to bring him back. At this point, I would love it. At first, going into the offseason, I was like, let's focus on other stuff. Let's go out and get some other bats. Screw Matt Chapman. Screw his defense. We can replace him. And we just didn't do any of that to replace him. So now I'm all in for getting him back there, because I think his defense alone is just so valuable at third base. If he can provide anything with his bat, then that's a plus. But his defense is just so valuable. We do have a good defensive team behind our pitchers already, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa isn't a bad defender, but he's not Matt Chapman, and his bat isn't Matt Chapman either. As bad and as brutal as it is to watch Matt Chapman play, it would be nice to have him back at third base. We ended up getting Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. We re-signed Kevin Kiermaier. Yariel Rodriguez, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that first name right or not, but Yariel Rodriguez, we ended up signing from Cuba. He looks pretty solid, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to be like the most insane arm in the world, but I think he's a decent little arm to pick up. He's only like 26 years old too, I believe, so he's got a little bit of promise. We also signed Daniel Vogelbach, Eduardo Escobar, and I believe that may have been it, to a minor league deal. Nothing crazy, but it was all right, nothing too crazy. But we ended up losing Brandon Belt, who was one of our best bats last year. From this standpoint, looks like he's going to retire. I don't think he officially announced his retirement, but he's not signed with any team, and there's been no rumors whatsoever. So at this point, it seems like it's safe to say he may be done. He may be hanging it up at this point. So that kind of sucks, because Brandon Belt was a very, very good bat for us last year. Very, very good. And we realistically didn't do too much to replace him. So Toronto is going to need to rely a lot on their big guys showing up. Vlad didn't have the greatest year last year. Now, keep in mind, he still had a good year, in my opinion, but to his standards and what everyone expects from him, it really wasn't that great of a year. So we need him to improve. We need Bo Bichette to improve even more than what he did last year. He was very good when he was healthy, but we need more out of Bo Bichette. We need Alejandro Kirk to be back to what he was in his All-Star season 2 years ago. We need Danny Jansen to be healthy for a full year. And we need Dalton Varsho to return back to what he was with Arizona, because he really wasn't that great of a bat for us last year. And I think if one of those guys can return to form, even just one of those guys, Vladdy, Kirk, Varsho, or even Manoah on the pitching side, if any of those guys can return to form, we could be looking all right for this year. And I think we could stick around the 87 to maybe 90 win team, probably looking at maybe fighting for a playoff spot. Moving on to second in the AL East, this is where I have the Baltimore Orioles. Now, a lot of people consider Baltimore to be their favorite to win the AL East. I have them around 90 to 93 wins. I think they won 101 games last year, just over the 100 mark. I think that that's going to decrease a little bit. Will it decrease 10 full wins? I'm not really sure because they do have a very good young core filled with great guys like Adley Rushman and Joe Westberg apparently has looked great in spring training. So, and they got a lot of pieces there. They got a lot of great guys with the Baltimore Orioles. But you also got to look at what they did in 2023. They were one of the most clutchest teams of all time. Like, I'm talking all time. Late in the innings of games, they were one of the best offenses of all time. And on top of that, they had a great historic bullpen, too. Yanier Cano and Felix Bautista were probably the best 8-9 inning punches in the entire league. Like, they were so good. They're going to be missing Felix Bautista this year. Now, they did go out and sign Craig Kimbrell. I don't think he's going to replace Felix Bautista. Definitely not replace the value that Felix brings. But he could probably give them a few innings here and there. Yanier Cano, if he can return to what he was in 2023 and keep that going, then I think they're still going to be really good. Kyle Bradish is supposed to be hurt to start the year for a little while, I believe. So that kind of sucks. But they did go out and get Corbin Burns, who is a legit ace pitcher. They got a lot working there. I do like Baltimore. I think they're going to be a really good team. I think last year they just over-exceeded with 101 wins. Like, that was like almost like a 20-win jump. I believe they won 83 games in 2022. So almost winning another 20-plus games was pretty crazy last year. This year, I have them around the 90 to 93 win range. 93 is more likely because I really don't think they decline that much to lose 10 less games. But I think 90 to 93 is pretty good for Baltimore. And then that leaves the New York Yankees for the number one spot. As much as it pains me to say that, I think what the Yankees did this offseason, and if they can stay healthy, they can return to the powerhouse in the AL East that they had been for a long time, and probably very well contend for a championship this year. I think the New York Yankees are the real deal. They won only 82 games last year. They did end up going over 500. Very shockingly, they were under 500 for a long time. They had a decent little stretch towards the end of the year. If they can have their guys stay healthy, Judge missed a good portion of last year. Rizzo missed a good portion of last year. Rodon was garbage when he did actually play, but he missed some time too. Nestor Cortez missed some time. If any of those guys can stay healthy, when they brought in guys like Juan Soto, guys like Alex Verdugo, who else did they bring in? They brought in Marcus Stroman in the rotation. I think that's going to be a really good rotation now with Garrett Cole, obviously Cy Young winner. They still have Nestor Cortez if he can return to what he was a couple years ago. And Carlos Rodon, too, who looked very good in spring training so far. He looks to be healthy. I believe his wife had mentioned last year that through most of last year, he really wasn't healthy, and he was just kind of fighting through injuries. So if he can return to what he was, if he can match the money that they ended up giving him, then that's going to be a deadly rotation and that nobody wants to face with Marcus Stroman there as well. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for the Yankees is health. The biggest thing for Yankees is health. They missed a lot of time last year. Stanton was unhealthy as well. If they can return, if some of those guys can return and be healthy, I think the Yankees are going to win the AL East. I have them as number one, around the 96 to 98 win range. Not too much higher than the Orioles, but I think they have potential to win 100 games because they're that good. But if they got to stay healthy. They got to stay healthy. All right, moving on to the AL Central. This is going to be a weird division to me. It's going to be a very, very weird division. Because last year, the Twins won the division with 87 wins. They ended up destroying the Blue Jays in the playoffs. But this year, see, some teams declined. Some teams made some moves. In fifth spot, I have the White Sox, which I think is no shock to anybody. I think the White Sox are going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. They won 61 games last year. I wouldn't be shocked if they only win 50 this year. I have them around the 50 to 55 win range. I think 55 might be even generous. They don't have really much of anything. They have Luis Robert, and they did bring in a few veteran pieces, like I think Mike Moustakas and one other guy. I forget who they brought in, but nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. They're looking to trade Dylan Cease away. They're looking to trade some more pieces away. I just don't really see where the White Sox are going to win any more than like 55 games, man. Like, the White Sox are that bad. I don't really have much more else to say about the White Sox. I mean, they're not good. They're not good. They're not going to be good. They don't really have much of anything. They lost some more guys. I really hope that in the future they can get back some of that clubhouse atmosphere that they've been missing for so long. Like, it seems like they've had a lot of clubhouse issues, just no chemistry whatsoever. They had a good group of guys for a couple years, and all those guys just fell off the face of the earth because it seemed like nobody wanted to play for the White Sox. Nobody wanted to play with each other. So, and that kind of sucks because a few years ago, I had the White Sox as an up and coming team that was young, exciting, was building, they had some great prospects. Moncada was great. Kopech looked good. And they had some pieces, but now all of that has went out the window. Most of those guys that they had have been absolutely trash. And yeah, I think this is going to be a really bad year. Probably a building year for the White Sox to maybe bring some of that chemistry back. Tim Anderson went and signed with the Marlins, who was apparently the forefront of that, bad chemistry. Grandal went and signed with the Pirates, who was also another guy that apparently was the forefront of that bad chemistry. So, they got rid of some of those bad seeds, and hopefully they can turn it around. But I still don't see much more than 50, 55 wins this year for the White Sox. So they're fifth place for the Central for me. Fourth place is where I have the Royals. A lot of people were talking about the Royals this year in the offseason like they were this insane team and they're going to fight for the AL Central and they're going to make a playoff spot. And I'm like, I really don't see it. When you look at their offense, all they really have is Bobby Witt. They have Vinny Pasquantino, who, if he can stay healthy this year, he looks to be destined for a great year. He's a great bat. He seems to be a very, very talented hitter. They didn't really do too much else. I think they brought in Hunter Renfroe, who in the last couple years really hasn't done much and has got cut by multiple teams because he can't swing. He can't swing anymore. He's not a great offensive player by any means. His defense can't even keep him in games. They did finally bolster the rotation a little bit. They got Michael Wacha. They got Seth Lugo in the offseason, which those are really good pickups. They might not be ace caliber pitchers. Michael Wacha had an ace caliber season last year. Michael Wacha was very, very good. But they're probably going to fit in behind Cole Ragans, who was ace. He is an ace caliber pitcher. I think Cole Ragans was great. He was amazing last year. Cole Ragans, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Brady Singer, and probably Jordan Lyles will fill out that entire rotation for the Royals. I think that is a much, much improved rotation from what they had last year. Will that win them that many more games? Probably not. They won 56 games last year, which was really, really bad. I have them around the 70 win range. That's like a 14 game difference. That's a big change. That's a big difference. A lot of people are talking like they're going to win 80 plus games. I don't see it yet. I think they're a year or two behind. They need to do some more for the offense because they really only have Witt and Vinny Pasquantino, and they do have a couple other pieces. Michael Massey has showed promise. MJ Melendez, if he could, get some type of promise with that bat. Nelson Velasquez was great last year for them. If he's going to continue to do what he did, they do have some pieces there, but it's a big what if for the Royals, in my opinion. I don't see any more than 72 wins in the season, which that's a big upgrade. I think that's really good for them. I think that'd be great if they improve to 70 plus wins. I think they're probably 2 to 3 years away from officially competing for I'm talking division. I'm talking competing for a championship. 2 to 3 years away, in my opinion. Third in the AL Central, I have the Cleveland Guardians. I think this is no shock to anybody else. The Cleveland Guardians have been mid for quite a while now. Cleveland's one of those weird teams that, in my opinion, I wish they would just blow it up. I wish they would trade away Jose Ramirez, trade away maybe Josh Naylor, because he's not super young anymore. I think Naylor's 28, 29 years old. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong there, but I think he's 28 years old. He's not super young anymore. He's got a lot of value right now. He had an insane year last year. All-star snub. Josh Naylor, and I don't know. I wish they would blow it up. I wish they had traded Shane Bieber. I wish they had traded Clase. There was a lot of rumors of a lot of their guys being traded this year, and they just didn't end up doing it. They didn't end up getting rid of anyone. They still have a solid little team. I like the team that they have, but I just don't think there's any ceiling. They're not they're not getting anywhere with this team. They're not. Like they have a really good rotation. Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, Tanner Bibby, a few other pieces here and there, and then like in the bullpen too, they have a good bullpen. Emmanuel Clase is one of the best closers in the game, especially in the American League. Like they got a good little team. Also, they brought in somebody new for their manager position this year. Terry Francona called it quits, so they ended up getting Stephen Vogt, which is a new manager this year. He's never managed before. He is a former catcher, which we all know about former catchers. They always seem to end up taking over the manager roles after their career is done. And so he's got a great baseball mind. I think he's going to be a good manager, but I don't really know. I mean, it's a big what if. It's a big what if, right? Like I don't see them getting any more than about 70. I think I put them 72 to 75 wins for the Guardians. They won 76 last year. I don't see them improving. I don't see them really declining too much unless they trade some guys away at the deadline, but I mean, who knows? Stephen Vogt might lead this team to a division title. Who knows? Like Cleveland has the potential to put things together and win games. Because, like I said, they have a good rotation. They have a good back end of the bullpen. Their offense is a little lackluster, but they have J-Ram and Josh Naylor and a few other pieces that can provide some type of offense. It's just a matter of being able to do it, Second place, I have the Detroit Tigers. This is another team kind of similar to the Royals. A lot of people were talking very, very heavily on. I love Detroit. I really, really do. I think Detroit's going to be a very fun team this year. They're young. They're exciting. Some of their guys finally showed potential last year. Riley Green looks great. Spencer Torkelson was insane in the second half last year. Kerry Carpenter had a very good year. Colt Keith is projected to be the starting third baseman this year, and he looks fantastic. Their rotation, if healthy, they have Tarek Skubal if healthy. Casey Mize, if healthy. Matt Manning has looked pretty solid in the past. They signed Kenta Maeda, Jack Flaherty, which are guys that they're not ace caliber pitchers really anymore, but they're guys that can go out there and eat a lot of innings and provide something for them, right? They also have one of, if not the most underrated bullpens in the league. Jason Foley and Alex Lange at the tail end of their bullpen is a very good 1-2 punch at the tail end of the bullpen. I think the Tigers are going to be probably 1 year away from officially competing for the division. I have them sitting around 82 wins. They won 78 last year, a 4-win increase. It could even be more than that. I think the Tigers could possibly win 86 to 88 games, but to play it safe, to not jump the gun too much, I'm going to say 82 wins for the Tigers in second place in the Central, which I think is pretty damn solid in my opinion. And so that leaves the Minnesota Twins to win the American League Central. They won 87 games last year. I think they declined slightly and win 85 games this year, which would be very bad for a division winner to only win 85 games, but the division ain't very good. It's not, it's not very. There's some up and coming teams. We just talked about the Tigers and the Royals, but I just think that still leaves the Twins to probably win the division. They lost a few pieces in the offseason. They traded away Jorge Polanco to the Mariners. They lost Sonny Gray to free agency. I believe they lost a few other little pieces here and there. They ended up going out and signing guys like Carlos Santana. I believe they check my notes here. I believe they lost they lost Sonny Gray, but in my opinion, they still have a very good rotation. Pablo Lopez is a Cy Young contender. He was very good last year, all-star season for Pablo Lopez. Joe Ryan is, in my opinion, one of my favorite young pitchers in the league. I feel like he doesn't get talked about enough. He did have kind of a poor second half last year, but Joe Ryan was very good in the first half, and I think he could build on that this year. Bailey Ober is decent to, he's a good 3 or 4 in the rotation. I think he's solid. They also picked up DeSclafani in the trade from Jorge Polanco, and I think DeSclafani is a decent little pitcher too. To have Bailey Ober, DeSclafani, and Chris Paddock as your 3, 4, 5 projected, I think that's pretty solid for the tail end of the rotation for a team that just lost a Cy Young candidate in Sonny Gray. Not to mention, they have Johan Duran, which is probably the best closer in the American League, not named Josh Hader, in my opinion. I think he's insane. I think he's very, very good. One of the most unhittable pitchers in the entire league, in my opinion. And they have a good lineup. I think they still have a good lineup this year. Byron Buxton is supposed to be healthy for the first time in a long time. He's wanting to play center field. Is this finally the year where he's healthy for a full season? I don't really know, but I would love to see it. I would love to see that. I think all fans want to see that. Carlos Correa seems to be pretty healthy. He had a decent year last year, but I think he was battling plantar fasciitis or whatever the heck it's called for a long time. So he didn't really get the most chance to play last year, at a high level at least. They also still got guys like Royce Lewis, who was absolutely insane. A full year of Royce Lewis, if he's healthy, could be very, very good. I'm talking potential MVP candidate, dark horse candidate, Royce Lewis. Keep in mind, in probably about 2 weeks from today, I'll probably be posting predictions for awards and stuff like that. So there might be some dark horse MVPs, maybe someone like Royce Lewis. I think he's that talented. He's that good. They also still have Edouard Julien, who is going to build off a great rookie season. Alex Kirilloff looks pretty solid. Matt Wallner looks really solid. Like, they have some good pieces there, man. They really do. And they added Carlos Santana, who I mentioned before, is a very good veteran bat. He has done nothing but provide good offense for the majority of his career. He might be 40 years old now, but he could provide something for the Twins. I think he's a decent little bat for them to add. So I have them winning the AL Central at around 83 to 85. I might give them 86 wins. I might put them around 86. Might be generous. But all right, moving on to the AL West. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really have too much to say about the Athletics. I think everybody could agree with that. Nobody has much to say about Oakland. They won 50 games last year. I could see them maybe improving to like 52, 53, maybe. I think them and the White Sox are going to be battling for the worst team in the entire league probably this year. I put them around 54 wins for the Athletics. Not really much to say. They have a few enticing young pieces that could provide something. Zach Geloff looks solid. Esteury Ruiz, if he could learn how to hit a little bit better, could be decent. That's about it. They really don't have too much. I feel bad for any Oakland fan, I'll be honest. Fourth place, we have the Angels. They won 73 games last year. I have them around 62. They lost Ohtani. That's about all you got to say. They lost Shohei Ohtani. They did bring in some other guys that could be a little enticing for them in the future. I don't think I didn't even write anything down for the Angels because they're probably going to not be too good either, I'll be honest. They still got Trout. Hopefully Trout can have a full healthy season. That's really all you got to say about the Angels. They have a few young pieces that are coming up through the farm system. I like Logan O'Hoppe if he can be healthy this year. He was very solid when he was healthy last year. I would like to see a full season of him. I would like to see a full season of Zach Neto. And I know Mike Trout is getting older, but maybe this is one of the final seasons we really get to see of prime Mike Trout. I don't really think he's really in his prime anymore, but we could if he's healthy, this might be the last time we really get to see a good season of Mike Trout, I'll be honest. So, that might be all of it's really worth of watching the Angels this year. I have them around 62 to 66 wins. Nothing crazy. Probably going to be dog shit again. I'll be honest. And this is where it's going to be very, very tough. The top 3 teams in the AL West are going to be absolutely stacked. The Astros, the Mariners, and the Rangers are going to be in another dogfight this year. They were very close all the way to the end of last year. I have the Astros falling in at 3rd place. A lot of people think the Astros are going to win the division this year. They just went out and signed Josh Hader as their closer. This is going to probably be the best bullpen they have had in their dynasty over the last 8 years, 10 years at this point, that they've been very good. So the bullpen looks very good. The rotation looks very good. And the offense looks still very, very solid. The Astros are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I have them around 89 to 92 wins. I would put them higher if they didn't have the Mariners and the Rangers in their division. I think those 3 teams are going to be fighting very heavily again. I have the Astros as the 3 seed in the West, But that really only puts them about a game behind the Mariners, who I have at second at around 90 to 93 wins. They won 88 games last year. A 2-game difference doesn't seem crazy, so I'm kind of edging towards the 93 wins compared to the 90 because they are that good. They improved in the offseason. They got rid of Robbie Ray. They ended up bringing in Desclafani, who they then traded to get Jorge Polanco, which helps the offense, which they also brought in Mitch Garver, which I kind of forgot that they got Mitch Garver. I feel like that was one of the first things that ever happened in the offseason in the first place. I think it's going to be a very good year for the Mariners. I think Julio Rodriguez has an MVP caliber season. He had a very good year last year. He kind of started off a little bit slow, but he finally picked it up, had a monster second half. They also have one of the best rotations in the league, if not the best rotation. George Kirby is going to be a Cy Young caliber pitcher this year. I think he is going to have a filthy season. I love George Kirby a lot. As long as he wants to pitch past the 7th inning, that's, I think he has the capability of being a Cy Young caliber pitcher. Luis Castillo and Logan Gilbert have got to be the best 2-3 in all of baseball. That is a monster top 3 in the rotation, and Bryce Miller and Brian Wu have looked pretty promising too. And if that's your 4 or 5 in a rotation, I ain't got really much else to say, man. That's going to be a very, very deadly rotation. And like I said, George Kirby and Logan Gilbert, who have been young for the last few years, they have another big year under their belt. And I think they're really going to be pushing hard, man. Like, they did a lot. They went out and also got Mitch Haniger back, Luke Raley as well, who Luke Raley was pretty solid for the Tampa Bay Rays last year. Mitch Haniger was kind of not really healthy with the Giants, but they did end up bringing some of those bats back. They lost Teoscar in free agency, but they got some guys like Mitch Haniger and Luke Raley to replace that bat, hopefully, to an extent. I think the Mariners are going to be really good. Now that I'm reading this, I'm thinking maybe Seattle over Texas, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's going to be tough. The rest of the AL West is going to be an absolute dogfight, man. Absolute dogfight. But that leaves us with the Rangers to win the AL West. I have them around 96 wins this year. I do think they declined slightly as far as performance-wise. They had an insane season last year, offensively. Sorry. Their rotation, they still haven't re-signed Jordan Montgomery. He's still a free agent. So if they don't bring him back, I could probably put the Mariners in front of them and think the Mariners win the West. But I don't really know, man. The Rangers are a weird team. I just feel like I can't not put them in first in the division because they just won the World Series. They are number 1 on the power rankings, in my opinion, just because they won the World Series. I know that doesn't mean everything, but in my opinion, they're the favorite just because they just won the World Series. I know that's kind of stupid to say, but they're the favorite, in my opinion. They may have declined as a team. They also might have some of their guys that might not have as great of a year as they did last year. I feel like they had a lot of guys that had career years last year. Adolis Garcia had an insane year. Marcus Semien was insane. Corey Seager was an MVP caliber player last year. MVP runner-up, that is. Jonah Heim was turned into one of the best catchers in the league, which I always thought he had that potential, but he did that last year. They also lost Mitch Garver, who was very key to them, especially in the postseason. Mitch Garver was great. Leody Taveras. They also do have some young guys that are coming up. Evan Carter showed a lot of promise at the end of last year. And Wyatt Langford, who is one of baseball's top prospects, is projected to start at some point this year. So, take what you get, I guess, with the Rangers. I think the Rangers are going to probably win the division. If they don't bring back Jordan Montgomery, it might be a little bit fishy as to who's going to really take that top spot in the West. Right now, at this very minute, I do think they're probably going to get Montgomery back. They have to get him back. In my opinion, they have to be able to retain him. They also lost some guys in the bullpen that were key pieces for them last year. Aroldis Chapman went to the Pirates. Will Smith went to the Royals. And they really haven't done much else with the bullpen, which was probably the weakest point of their team last year. They blew a lot of games because of their bullpen. They really didn't do too much to improve that bullpen in the offseason, so at least rate of as of yet. So, I mean, there's a little bit of the offseason left to go because we got a lot of free agents that have yet to sign for some dumb reason. I don't like that whatsoever. I wanted to hold off this video as long as I could to see who would sign where, but, you know, not everybody has signed yet, but that's going to do it for this video, guys. The first ever video. We covered the entire American League, my standing predictions, another quick run through before we end the video. For the American League East, we have the Red Sox at 5, Rays at 4, Blue Jays at 3, Orioles at 2, and the Yankees winning the AL East. The AL Central, we have the White Sox at 5, Royals at 4, Cleveland at 3, Detroit at 2, and the Twins at number 1. And then in the West, we have the Athletics, the Angels, the Astros, and then the Mariners, and then the Rangers winning the AL West. But like I said, like I was just kind of thinking it could end up being the Mariners. Could very well be the Mariners. I think that's probably the easiest flip-flop spot in the entire list. But anyways, that is going to conclude this video. I appreciate you guys so much. This was a blast to be able to film this first video for you guys. But yes, without further ado, I will see you guys next week, probably around the same time. Take care, guys. Take care.